This video contains commentary and analysis of a YouTube video and may include copyrighted material. The use of such material is in accordance with the fair use provisions of Section 107 of the United States Copyright Law. The commentary provided is for criticism, commentary-educational purposes, and aims to contribute to public discourse and understanding. The use of copyrighted material is transformative and adds significant value to the original content. The inclusion of any copyrighted material is not intended to infringe upon copyright, and I strive to use what is necessary to support the commentary. This video expresses the opinions of the creator and should not be considered as professional advice. The creator make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy or completeness of the information provided. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own independent research and critical thinking. The creator does not endorse or promote any specific products, services, or views unless explicitly stated. By watching this video, you agree to the terms mentioned in this disclaimer.
What up, everybody? So good to see you guys. Oh my god, that was like extra on the S. My bad, y'all. It's a little on the snake. Any users. I hope you're having a good day, great day, splendid day, wonderful day. I'm being extra. There's no way you could be that ecstatic about a Monday, but it is a day. So we're just gonna kind of. Oh my God, you caught me. How did you know? How did I ever think that you would be smart enough to figure it out? Who'd have knowed it? Back to Fast Eddie with the fast thinking. So smart. Yes, you caught me. Busted and documented. That is so legit. Proof. Receipts. Did you? I'm sure you just talked about these theoretical ones, but never the ones that like you can see in real life. I guess you need like the special NASA goggles or something to see them. Like I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's encrypted in like code or something. You gotta have like a special QR code. Who fucking knows? Extra, extra. Read all about it. Don't you know? Bless his heart. The recipes and the receipts. Heck yeah. I'd rather see if we can work something out for them recipes. I don't really care about them receipts. I mean, unless you're trying to get a refund or something, and I don't think those guys are big into that. Or girls, gals, that would be more whatever they identify as. Okay, so I've uh I've kind of did it again. Oops. So I'm gonna go ahead and apologize to you guys in advance. Um it's not like full blown tinfoil hat for sure, but it's definitely like, oh, you better buckle up, Buttercup, because it's a one of them rabbit holes. However, um, I searched through YouTube, and there's quite a few different. I'm not the only one, so y'all want to come for me, then y'all can come for the several other dozens of people that have been down the same rabbit hole. So I'm not the only one that's uh I plead the fifth. Anyways, yeah, you freaking distraction. That's all you do. So sick of it. I'm blocking you in my mind. Can't see you. Okay, so but I feel like if there's anybody that would recognize the similarities and kind of have a light bulb go off, then it would be you guys, you all, y'all. Oh, you all sounded weird. Y'all for sure. So I'm going through the like the logistics of where geographically, what's going on with the where Karlie disappeared, the timing and weather and all that crap, right? And I'm thinking as I'm going through the sorry, I can't walk and chew gum. Oh, I was going through the transcript of an interview that her mom had gave, like I think with Nancy Grace. I'm not sure. It's somewhere in my notes, but and we'll get to this later. But I'm jumping around because I'm just gonna give you guys kind of like a preview before we dive in, so you guys are not like, oh my god, that was a left turn. Like I don't really care too much for NASCAR, but so they I'm listening to the podcast. I think that's what yeah, it was Nancy Grace's podcast. So I'm listening to it in my headphones and I'm doing something else like messing around with the mapping and stuff. And then I hear Nancy Grace bring up the fact that there was footprints like leading off into the distance, and they kind of seem like, in her opinion, that they were purposely put. And just the way it was worded, I was like, what the heck is this? Similarities to another case that I deep dove, and I'm like, no, no way, because they happen so far apart, like year, in the time frame wise, plus like pretty sure one is really far away from the other. So curiosity killed the cat, and I'm like, okay, well, how far is said place from the other said place? And I'm like, oh, that's not as far as I thought. But then, and I'll stop talking in code in a second, I swear. But the as I'm looking at the two different, where the two missing persons were last seen at on a map, like I see all this light green, and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? So I Googled it because didn't know. Well, apparently, if it's light green, it's some kind of government owned land, whether it be like a national park or a forest, whatever. Regardless, it's its own governed, operated, whatever, by the government. So I was like, huh. Well, that's interesting. Like, what makes it, I can understand if it's like a national forest or something, but if it's just like a random patch of desert and it's light green and there's nothing, like when you hover over it that usually says, oh, this is such and such, it's just nothing. And I'm like, what the heck? Why? Like, they just randomly pick, like, oh, this rock, this is mine, this is my rock. Like, what makes it, like, so I just started getting curious. And then the deeper I went, like, so then I went down this other rabbit hole where, do you guys realize how many people go missing, like, strangely and mysteriously, like near like national parks and national, like, it's kind of like a thing, apparently. And I don't really, I don't I don't know. Like, I could speculate, but I don't under how people just be disappearing. Yeah. See? Apparently, I'm the only one that lives in the dinosaur ages. But it's not like there's ever any resolution. It's just like they go missing under these really strange, mysterious circumstances, or no circumstances at all. They just whew, was here 1 second and whoop, now they're gone. And there's no investigation, or no, there's nothing, there's no case file, there's nothing to sink your teeth into besides a couple of news headlines. So it's like really, like, what the heck is and I can understand the ones that are like a long time ago, but the ones that were like last year, why is there no extensive investigation done? Is it like, um, I don't even know. It's very strange. You would think there would be more actual, information to sink your teeth in, but not, besides news, a bunch of speculation and shit on Reddit. And there's nothing in an official matter that you can find that's ultimately says what happened to these people, or even what they think happened. Not anybody of an official, like, no police departments. Like, is there special jurisdiction, or is there somewhere that I'm not, like, what the heck is going on, you guys? Sam Squat. Who's that? Who's David Pilates? Is that a person that went missing, or someone that covered it? Either way, well, yeah, see, that's another thing. Okay, I'm just gonna stop talking in code. The other case I was talking about was Aiden Clune. Okay, and if you guys aren't familiar, like, the circumstances leading up to his disappearance, granted, I know one was in 2018 and one was in 2022, but hear me out. I'm not saying that they're connected in any kind of way at all, because that's not what I'm implying. But the circumstances are just very similar in ways that just kind of got my spidey senses tingling. Like, okay, well, he had a wig out, like, possibly could have been dabbling with a substance, possibly could have been dabbling with a little bit of a mental health that wasn't being dealt with, or maybe was. Don't know if he was for sure taking medication, stopped it. Those are kind of things that can be disputed. But have been thrown out there by his mother, Aiden's mother. So, but you don't know for sure what his state of mind was at that time, but he had like a super paranoid like time period before he went missing, and then he just freaked out and seemingly ran off into the desert. Like, so could it be worth looking into that maybe if you have a certain um medication maybe that they were on or not on and mixed with something, or maybe were both given the same. I mean, it could have been LSD. There's several things that could cause the reaction that both of them had, but not weed by itself. No, no way. Hmm? Thank Kathy speaking in code. Did did I? Oh yes, yes I did. Let me double check that. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kathy, for the $500 cash app. I'm just kidding. I promise I'll pay my rent with it. Sorry. All seriousness though. So I was looking into these different cases that have happened, like, because I'm gonna pull up a map here in a little bit as part of the plan, but there is where Karlie disappeared at. She's like within 20, 30 miles, like one direction of I think Yosemite National Park, and then if you go the opposite direction, there's another national forest, and then you got some place that's like real big touristy, like Devil's Playground, that's like 30 miles away. Okay, and which would have been, in the direction that she was allegedly walking in. However, the exact place that she disappeared at is kind of disputable. We just seems a little unlikely that if she was that paranoid, and this is just my opinion, if she was that paranoid that she was wigged out by her own phone, which should bring any teenager at that age comfort in any sense, just if it's just to scroll through TikTok, it's like they do it as like a nervous tick, just constantly checking their notifications or whatever. I mean, I'm sure everybody here knows a teenager that has been without their phone, and it's not a comforting, they're definitely more pacified with it, so to say. And if she felt so paranoid that she left her phone and was scared of her own parents, why would she be just go into the arms of a stranger? I mean, she wigged out on her boyfriend, for crying out loud, and they were like in the puppy dog stage, like all giddy giddy. Like I don't see that just being very plausible. Not willingly, not like sure, yeah, like hitchhiking type deal. Like she was freaked out by people she was familiar with. It doesn't seem likely that keeping that same behavior and that same reaction that she was having to whatever she was given would not line up with her getting into a vehicle or with somebody that she would be trying to stay away from movement. I mean, the car, she was scared of her stepmom's car, kept bouncing from seat to seat, saying the car was going to unalive her. I don't see her getting in one with a stranger. That would just absolutely um, increase and ramp up every bit of what was already going on, anxiety. Just that would amplify that. And I don't think that's what she was trying to do. She was trying to get away from the things that were scaring her, which was everything. So I would see her more going down like a road that less traveled, so there'd be less cars and less likely to have to deal with somebody. And I think if somebody would have tried to stop her and talk to her, I think she would have took off running. That, in my opinion, regardless of who it was. Which is weird if you think about it. The things that we disputed about what Aiden was doing, like that's kind of what was described. Like he was running from the car, running back, like acting like he was scared. Like, what the heck? Scared the shysta out of these kids, or or the witness accounts are, there's really no way to say, okay, they're telling the truth or they're not. I mean, in good faith, you'd like to think, why would they lie? They should have no reason to lie. However, I've learned in my people just do just 'cause it's just a thing. It's just 'cause they can and they will, and take everything with a grain of salt. So I don't know that I'll say this. I'm not gonna say that I don't believe that they seen them doing what they're doing, but I'll say that no sound mind person would do what they're describing as doing. They would have to have been so out of it that it would have been strange for the person witnessing that in real time to not have immediately called 911 or tried to do anything other than just, oh yeah, let me take a mental note of, what they were wearing and what time I seen them, but let me not do anything else to, yeah, just the my opinion. I'm like, you, there you go. You dropped the ball to be good citizen of the year when it counts. Like you just watched and did nothing. It's a little strange to me. But hey, different strokes for different folks. Some people are not calling the police for anything. I would hope that regardless of where you're at in life and what your life choices are, that if you see somebody that needs help, you would assist them regardless whether that means calling 911 or calling parents or just doing more than just turning and looking at the clock and making note of the time. I'm just saying, like, we could do better, people, as a society. Like, let me just say that, like, it's really no big deal to just report it or say something, or if you know her, go tell her parents. Like, I mean, hello, not to be like skeptical or but come on, you guys, not you guys, like just in general. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do that. Hey, Woob's mom. All right, so let me go ahead and share this screen and push play. Okay, the links to the channel and the clips that I'm gonna play are already like down in the description if you want to watch the original video or check the original channel out. But um, I clipped several different parts of the video of two different videos. One is JL or JP Mysterious or JP's Mysteries and Adventures, and the other one is Annie Elise Tend Away. But this guy, the JP guy, he actually physically like drives there and shows you like the way, which I thought was really awesome, like just to see kind of what it would look like and stuff like that. And then we'll go from there.
So here's Bishop, California. This is where I went yesterday to go look for Karlie Guse. Some of you already know the story. She ends up going to like a party or get together. I guess in 2018. She ends up smoking or taking something that was laced. She has a back reaction, to whatever she took, and she ends up kind of having paranoia and some other bad side effects. So her mom picks her up, her stepmom picks her up and takes her back home, this is the road that goes back to their neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood, it's about 4 blocks, and it's really nice though. Nice homes. Everybody takes care of their homes, so it's not a bad neighborhood. I didn't see any bad people. I didn't see any hoodlums or anything, or people that are up to no good. So so. So here's Bishop, California. This is where I went yesterday to go look for Karlie Guse. Uh, so here's Bishop, California. I don't know, I could have been like a neighbor that did something to her. Yeah, maybe, you never know. Even Nowadays, you can't, you never know, So anyhow, so I wanted to retrace her steps of where she went, so you guys could kind of see maybe this could help somebody in finding out, giving more clues. I know sometimes like we hear the story, but we don't actually get to see the actual footage of the place. So here we are. This is her street. Her house is here on the right. I did see some people there, but I didn't want to disturb them. So I don't know if that was her stepmom that I saw outside, but if you're watching this, I didn't want to bother you. Maybe I should have said hi or something, but I just wanted to just mind my own business, and kind of continue with this, mini documentary here. So, as you guys could see, she walked down this way. Somebody saw her and said she was just wearing a white shirt and some sweatpants, and she don't know, it could have been like a neighbor that did something to her. Maybe you never know. Sweatpants and she was barefooted, so she had to walk all this way barefooted. Now it was early in the morning, so I'm sure the concrete was kind of cold, but I'm sure it was bearable, to walk barefoot on it. Now they're saying that when they did the search, the dogs actually picked up her scent and took her, and her scent ended at the main road, which that's where I turned on, which you guys will see right now, because I actually get out and I film a little bit there on the corner. So could somebody have picked her up? Well, that is a possibility, but um, the cars do pass by that road, and I'm guessing somebody would have saw her also. But then what are the odds that somebody crazy would have, came at the right time, at the right place? So who knows? I mean, who knows? You never know. There's weird people out there, and they're always looking for an opportunity. So, they could have taken her, but most likely, I have a feeling she just went across, sweatpants and she was. If you guys could see that. So that's her sign right there, and then there's the place where they think she might have gone that way, and then her neighborhood's way back there. So she had to walk all that way down here, and this is where they last. I guess the dogs. That's where they last did her scent. So I'm gonna go ahead and search down that way, and then see what we find over there. All right, so here's the intersection where she was last seen, and I guess somebody could have picked her up, but most likely what I feel is that she kept on walking across. There is some barbed wire or wire, I guess, fencing there that you can't drive across, but you could easily either jump across or go through it, if you're just walking through it. So that wouldn't have been an obstacle for her if she wanted to go through. If you guys could see that.
6 kids hanging out, smoking, and talking. Well, not long after Karlie hit the bong.
Okay, now I'm gonna go through a couple of clips from Annie Elise's channel, 10 to Life. The channel link and the video link is in the description below. But the reason why I have clipped these particular moments out of her stream is because they were significant into in my opinion, what caused her to be that, where the paranoia starts. And she talks about the party and the smoking, and the goes into great detail. So obviously it's came from the boyfriend and the other person that was there, which ended up being arrested, which we'll get into that. But Anna, she shows like on the maps, like where the trailer was, and then where Karlie was like running on the road at, so you can put it into perspective. Like, just no one in listen, I'm an adult now, and you couldn't pay me $1 million to go running off down that damn road of just nothingness in that time of night. But absolutely not. I'm scared of everything. I ain't doing it. You are not getting me like that. Nope. So something had to have like really just tripped her out. When was the case? 2018, October of 2018, Racing Stars. And I can't even take the credit. I had never heard of this case before. Woob's mom asked me about it and got my interest piqued on it. I had no idea. Never even heard of it. Kathy doesn't like her new keyboard, y'all. It's kicking her butt. I have faith in her. She's gonna come back for round 2 and give him a run for her money. You're welcome, Recent Stars. All right, so I'm gonna push play. Right now, she's talking about the party and the smoking that was supposedly what she was having a adverse reaction to, allegedly.
6 kids hanging out, smoking, and talking. Well, not long after Karlie hit the bong, Donald and the rest of the group started to notice that she was acting a little bit strange. They recall Karlie becoming scared of the music, crying on and off, and acting paranoid that people were tracking her on her phone. Now, none of the other kids considered that something could have been laced in the marijuana, because all of them smoked the exact same substance. They shared the bong, and none of them were acting any differently than usual. So it was clear that for some reason, Karlie thought that she was in danger, and Donald decided to just take her to his house a few blocks away, because he didn't really think she was feeling comfortable. It was better to get her out of that situation. So James ended up giving them a ride to Donald Street, but after he drove away, Karlie...
Now this is actual footage. Hold on, you guys. Let me move these for a second and make this a little bigger. This is actual footage from the friend's house. Okay, this is, let me mute. Okay, this is, I'm assuming the guy who lives there, the guys whose house it is, and then that's Karlie, and that's her boyfriend, that very briefly leaving. So I'm gonna rewind it and play it back so you guys can see it, knowing that.
It was better to get her out of that situation. So James ended up giving them a ride to Donald Street, but after he drove away, Karlie turned to Donald out of nowhere, and she had a terrified look on her face. He tried to ask her what was wrong, but she just stared at him before finally screaming his name over and over. Donald tried to comfort her, but she was pushing him away. 6 kids hanging out, smoking, and talking. Well, not long after Karlie hit the bong, Donald and the rest of the group... white shirt and gray sweatpants, Melissa told people that she was wearing jeans and an unspecified t-shirt.
She is 5'7". Hold on. Do this good. Wait, there she is. She's 5'7", about 115 pounds. She has blue eyes and the cutest little nose and a great smile. And her hair goes all the way down past her, like, to her belly, let's say, mid-waist. And this was last year's picture. Shows you she's a little bit different, but not much. She's still, like, adorably cute. She doesn't wear makeup and everything. She left in her jeans and a t-shirt. So...
The next day, not only did Mono County and other surrounding law enforcement agencies come out to assist in the search, but the FBI became involved as well, which I just want to say, I think it's really amazing when police departments realize quickly that they could benefit from a white shirt and gray sweatpants. Holding a piece of paper and walking toward Highway 6 just down the road from their neighborhood. The next day, on October 15th, it was released that a woodworker was driving down Highway 6 and also saw a woman with long hair wearing a white shirt and gray sweatpants. This woman was standing near the intersection of the road to Karlie's neighborhood called White Mountain Estate Road and Highway 6. She was standing behind a barbed wire fence. The man said that this was around 7:30 a.m. So the dogs who were tasked with tracking Karlie's scent also alerted to the bus stop enclosure near her house, and that very corner where she was supposedly seen by the woodworker. Now, granted, Karlie did spend a lot of time at that bus stop talking on the phone, so that doesn't necessarily mean that she had been there recently or had gotten on a bus or anything like that. However, being spotted and having a scent near Highway 6 caused the investigators a lot of concern. Highway 6 basically serves as Chalfant's connection to the rest of civilization. Sweatpants, holding a piece of paper and walking toward Highway 6 just down the road from their neighborhood. She really tried to get them to explain how she was acting and what she was specifically doing to cause them to think that.
What was she doing that was acting paranoid to you?
Scared.
I know, but what did you observe about her that seemed she was paranoid?
She just was acting very nervous and scared about, her phone, about us being around her at moments. And then at other moments, she'd change and just say she loves us and ask us if she was okay. And of course, we said, yeah, you're the.
When you said
she really tried to get them to explain how she was acting and what she was specifically doing to cause them to think that.
What was she doing that
up in the mountains, but there were also prints down by the road near the intersection that she was spotted at by the woodworker. Lindsay, Nancy, and the other guest on the show all agreed that it seemed almost like someone was putting shoe prints placed as a distraction.
What can you tell me about that? The footprints. That seems very odd.
Yeah, it is extremely odd. To me, it has nothing to do with the case. It sounds like somebody is trying to put something else out there to divert the police to something that could be completely bogus. I happen to believe that it is possible that she never did leave the house in the morning, but who knows? Because if there's no videotape, if there's no security cameras on the exterior of this home or on neighboring homes, to me, if I was an investigator on this case, I would go door to door and say, have you seen this woman, the 16-year-old girl, and really look at video cameras
up in the mountains. But there were also prints down by the road near the intersection.
Say, have you seen this woman, the 16-year-old girl, and really look at video cameras in the town, house to house. Did she ever leave the home she was in? I don't know. There's so many inconsistencies in the story. It's hard to know what to believe. The footprints, though, I don't buy it.
Well, I don't understand how out in the desert you can identify footprints. That's your bailiwick to Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, death investigator, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet. Joe Scott, I've done a lot of footprint cases, but not from desert sand. By any footprint, you're going to have a shoe tread. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's a specific identifier, and I don't see how this, how this person, the father, who allegedly made the statement, can narrow this down to this little girl's feet. I don't see how that's possible. And how would you know specifically to go to a particular area in order to identify these things? I'm just very curious about this whole thing. Where's law enforcement in all of this? Why isn't this being locked down and they're talking about this thing as a crime scene at this point? Because all of this time is precious. Physical evidence is precious. And right now, it seems like a three-ring circus at this point. Very, very frustrating.
Lindsay later pointed out the fact that there was only one shoe print outside the home, making it seem like someone pressed a shoe onto the ground. So obviously that interview wasn't going to smooth anything over amongst the parents. And Lindsay also made it clear that she didn't think that the witnesses who claimed to have seen Karlie that morning held any weight. Melissa told Nancy that she didn't think that Karlie would ever leave the house in sweatpants, and Donald said that she actually didn't even own any sweatpants. So due to this, Lindsay doesn't believe that the person that the neighbor saw that morning Melissa to call.
Digital agencies. Listen up. Duda introduces
the power of his home, which investigators and Karlie support pages have raised. Not being able, Melissa realized that Karlie
Okay, so this is Karlie's house. This is where the first neighbor or witness said that they seen her at 6:30 a.m. So that means it would have took her. However, they said 0.9 miles, so almost a mile. Second sighting from 7:15 to 7:30. Now she's done. Came around the corner and was seen by this neighbor, witness, whatever. Now we're at 0.21 miles. And then okay. So this is 2 minutes by car, but walking. But she was probably borderline running. Anyway, the distance is 1 mile. Okay, but then you have right here at this intersection, the third sighting at 7:30. Supposedly the wooder, I think is what they're calling him. Though he was going to look for wood. Seen her at this intersection at like 7:30. So the whole thing from start to finish, from her house to where she was last seen at, is about a mile. I want to play this stuff about her brother and her dad, just to kind of put into perspective what kind of household she was living in.
to take her own life. But Melissa said that she was pretty sure that the paper she had was a form that she had to fill out for her counselor. She said that Karlie had been really adamant about getting it turned into school. But again, it was Saturday, so it doesn't really make any sense for her to have brought it with her that morning. Maybe if she was hallucinating and thinking it was a school day and she was going to be late to school and had to get out there on her own, possibly. Now, neither Melissa or Zac thought that Karlie was depressed, but some of her friends had a different perspective about her mental state leading up to her disappearance. A few of her closest girlfriends told investigators that since Karlie and Donald had started dating, she started smoking way more frequently and did seem to be showing some signs of depression. They attributed this mostly to the smoking of marijuana and not really on Donald himself. And they said that they had noticed some signs of paranoia as well, with Karlie thinking that people were tracking her. Even though Karlie didn't see her mom all the time, they did still talk frequently on the phone, and according to Lindsay, she had been seeming a little depressed ever since they made that move out of Chalfant. She said Karlie would tell her that she'd up and they were hanging out without her. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that in her internet history, they did find that Karlie had Googled where she went missing. Lindsay depressants, because he told the kids that he couldn't do life anymore and put on antidepressants her own life, and she had Googled this a few weeks before she went missing. Lindsay also said in an interview,
Okay, that's very significant because anyways, moving on. Let's listen to what her dad had going on.
That Karlie had told her that her dad Zac had been put on antidepressants because he told the kids that he couldn't do life anymore. There were also clear substance abuse issues in the family as well. Not only that, but 1 month after Zac was arrested for his domestic dispute charge, Karlie's older brother Kane was arrested on March 4th, 2021. He was arrested for felony assault with a firearm after he pointed a gun at the other residents of his home and then at himself. You would hope that he could have gotten the help that he needed after that, but 2 months later,
What in the world is going on in this household? Like, this is not, I mean, let me, allegedly, in my opinion, that's kind of not the kind of table talk we have around the house, but hey, why is, it almost makes you wonder, like, why do they have to go to such extremes to, get attention? I mean, I don't really know but it clearly, by the looks of, they seem like they're doing everything but crying out for help. Clearly, they're not adjusting well to something that is not normal behavior. That's very sad, actually.
later in May of 2021, the police were called to Melissa and Zac's house for another domestic dispute. This time, Kane and his girlfriend came over to his parents' house, and there ended up being a disagreement that led to Kane stabbing himself and then holding a knife to his throat, again threatening to take his own life. Melissa reportedly took Kane's girlfriend home since the situation was getting dangerous, and then a physical altercation ensued as Zac tried to stop Kane from hurting himself.
Guse versus Zachary, he stated that the son, 22-year-old Kane Guse, got into a physical altercation with him. He stabbed himself and is possibly bleeding. He then stated that he's holding a knife against his.
What? Okay, that's not okay. Like, I can only. This is after Karlie had disappeared. She disappeared in 2018. This is in 2021. So I'm not going to speculate. It's just very sad, very disturbing.
His throat, and he will kill himself if the PD units or SO units show up. The wife currently drove the son, Kane Guse's girlfriend, to her house and is not at the residence.
Model 172 just confirming Zac Guse is at the house by himself with a knife to his throat.
Sam 2 negative. Zac Guse was trying to stop his son Kane Guse from killing himself. Zac Guse is currently at the residence, and Kane Guse has now left the residence. According to Zac Guse, Kane was the aggressor in the situation.
So you can see that the years after Karlie's disappearance were not easy, and Kane even posted on Facebook, "The last thing I said to her was after she asked if she could come hang out at mine and my girlfriend's house. I was on my way to get my wisdom teeth pulled, and I didn't want to have anyone over. It's the biggest regret of my life." He obviously is going through a lot, and it's probably extremely confusing when someone you love is gone, but you don't know if they're dead or alive, so you can't even properly grieve or move on at that point. However, of course, there are some people who have taken these domestic situations and believe that they are the result of Zac and Kane not being able to live with the guilt of what they know and what they know happened to Karlie. So before I get into the current updates about the case, I wanted to make sure that I at least touched on some of the other discrepancies that Lindsay, various private investigators, and Karlie support pages have raised questions about in the past. So in the camp of people who absolutely believe that Zac and Melissa had something to do with what happened to Karlie, it's not so much any one single inconsistency, but the accumulation of different versions of the story, and not being able to keep the details straight between each other. One example of this would be during the time.
Okay. good point, because every time that I've heard the stepmother give like details, they're slightly or just completely different. And once or twice I was like, I can understand maybe the emotions, but not this many times. I mean, every other word is like, okay, well, um, it just makes you take pause. I'll just say that. Allegedly, in my opinion, blah blah blah, but she's not the only one, but she's definitely the main one, like with the most inconsistencies and just odd. Just her tone sometimes is just like off. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Time that Melissa realized that Karlie was no longer in her bed. Lindsay and some publications have stated that Melissa went outside to look for Karlie before she woke up Zac, and that there were even the two witnesses who claimed to have seen her out before 7:30. If that were the case, it would lend credibility to the theory of the witnesses possibly confusing Karlie with Melissa. There are even some sources who
If you're an agency, I'm about to make your life a whole lot better. Let's decrease your workload by generating images with AI.
say that Zac's phone record shows him to have called Melissa at 7:30 to ask her where she and Karlie were. And that's when he first found out that
That's strange to me. That is that's a whole different narrative than whenever you think, okay, well, him and his wife woke up and to get ready for work or get the kids ready for school like a normal day, and whenever they went to get Karlie up or to check on her, she just wasn't there. But then the stepmom also says that she was asleep with Karlie, and then she wasn't, and then she was, like, and then all of a sudden now the dad calls her. Well, clearly because it's in the freaking call log, so I had no choice but to incorporate it into the story by then. But it it just seems strange. Like, why would you be looking for both of them, and why would she be out there looking by herself rather than not have everybody in the house in a panic and 911 on the way? Like, how long was she out there looking by herself before she involved anybody else? Like, that's a little sus, in my opinion. Allegedly, just saying, not trying to be that. Like, it just it anyway, moving on.
Karlie was missing and Melissa was out looking for her. A week after her disappearance, the sheriff's office set up a checkpoint along Highway 6 so that they could ask people driving through if they had possibly seen anything out of the ordinary that morning. They were able to talk to about 50 people who claimed to have driven near where Karlie was last seen, and even further up the highway, but none remembered seeing anyone matching her description. Some people have also posed questions about the physical probability of the witness's timeline. Even though it's changed by a few minutes here and there, the general timeline is that Melissa last saw Karlie before falling back asleep at 5:45. Sometime after that, Karlie left the house and was spotted by the neighbor in the hot tub at 6:30. She was then seen by the second neighbor between 7 and 7:15, and then again at the corner near Highway 6 at 7:30. So this had some people wondering what Karlie was doing between the first sighting at 6:30 and the second 7 to 7:15 sighting, because that would have been 30 to 45 minutes of her just walking down one single street for a distance of less than a quarter mile. From there, it would have taken her between 15 to 30 minutes to walk the rest of the way to the corner of Highway 60, which, from the second sighting, is a little over 3/4 of a mile. There she was spotted by the woodworker at 7:30. Back at
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Puff. Like, every time that I've done a report, it's been transcribed from either, I think Dr. Phil was the one I used in on that one, and then the other one was from the official, like the US dot NamUs and the official like websites. And every time you go and try to compare them, they're different. Like, was he leaving for work, or did I still don't know. it depends on what statement you go based off of. And then eventually, I guess they just stopped asking. And I don't think it would have took a big microscope over that just alone in the don't even get me started. It's more than weird. Well, it's got to be coming from somewhere. You usually don't just wake up that way. Woob's mom, unless it's completely environmental, but still there would have to have been some kind of pre-existing genetical, the foundation for that to, for certain things to make it, absolutely it's trauma at a young age of any kind. You don't really know based off of just randoms. Like you'd have to get into genetics and all the parents' mental and all that, but they all have a pre-existing things that are just waiting for something to happen to kind of, oh yay, I get to come and put me in, coach. And depending on how it's dealt with or not dealt with, like it can make the deciding factor if somebody just has anxiety or they're a schizophrenic that is there's just some simple things that make or break like your personality for sure, but even your it can affect your brain, like the way it grows and wires and functions. It's really fascinating to get into it, like especially the there's different there's different levels of it depending on the age, but it's the regardless that in the child's brain is like a sponge. But I didn't realize it was so. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but have fun at church, Puff. Yeah, that's where I was leaning to. Let's watch a little more.
At home, Melissa said that she woke up between 7:15 and 7:30, and that's when she realized that Karlie was gone. She reportedly looked around the house for only a few minutes before going to wake up Zac, and they immediately got in their cars to go and look for her. So if they left the house at around 7:20, the drive to the end of the road near Highway 6 where Karlie was last seen is only a 2-minute drive from their house. Now, I'm assuming one of them decided to drive around the neighborhood, and then maybe the other went on the road to check out the bus stop and near the highway. But if one left the neighborhood immediately, they should have gotten to the corner of Route 6 at around 7:23 a.m., which is 7 minutes before Karlie was spotted by the woodworker. If they didn't leave the house until 7:35 or so, that would have put them at the corner at around 7:38, leaving only an 8-minute time window for Karlie to have gotten abducted or willingly get into a car after the 7:30 sighting. Now, I hope that makes sense, and obviously people...
That actually does make sense, and that is what are the odds of that? Like, and I'm not saying that this isn't what happened. I'm just saying that there's no way, in my opinion, that it happened like that in the time frame that is being said. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, and I'm not saying that I'm just saying that there's no way those times and those distances and those circumstances would lead to nothing. Nobody seen nothing, and there's nothing. No, it's just not. That is not human. It's just not possible. I'm getting Twitter baited. It's just not. I can't make it make sense because I can't. It's just not possible. No. I mean, unless somebody can convince me otherwise, and I'm open to the challenge. But from the evidence that I have seen, no way, no way.
People's recollection of times are probably off by a few minutes, give or take. But even Melissa has looked at this timeline herself and said that she probably missed Karlie at the corner by just minutes if she did in fact get in someone's car. While that's not a completely
No, no way. She was so paranoid. She was scared of her own phone, her own parents' car, her parents, her boyfriend. Why would she get in a car with a stranger? That just doesn't make sense. That's not plausible. I'm sorry. In my opinion. No way. Next theory.
Impossible timeline, it does make you wonder what Karlie was doing between 6:30 and 7 to 7:15. Because if she were supposedly running away, you'd think that she would have been moving a little bit quicker. So I think one of the main controversies about this case has to do with Melissa and Zac choosing not to take Karlie to the hospital when something was very clearly wrong with her. When Karlie first went missing, Melissa reported that as soon as she found her running on Dixon Road, her eyes were dilated and she looked pale, and something was obviously seriously wrong with her and she was seriously afraid of something. Lindsay said that Melissa told her that on the way home, Karlie was panicking so much that she actually ended up grabbing the steering wheel, causing them to veer off the road a little bit.
This is exactly what Melissa told me right out of her mouth. Now that's the first story. And so in the process of them making it home, she said Karlie reached in the front seat and grabbed the steering wheel and they veered off the highway. And I said, Melissa, did she hit her head on the dash? Because if you guys veered off the highway and she hit her head on the dash or on the windshield, she could have had a concussion. Of course she was confused.
Right.
So she's like, no, she didn't hit her head on anything. But it was a real nervous no.
Right.
Since Karlie was obviously not wearing her seatbelt while she hopped around in the back seat, Lindsay wondered if Karlie could have hit her head in the car and gotten a concussion. All that is to say that by the time Karlie had gotten in the car, Melissa would have known that she had something else going on besides just smoking marijuana. When they got home, both Zac and Melissa asked Karlie if she had taken anything else and asked Donald about the weed possibly being laced. They both have stated that to them it seemed like she was on meth, or maybe even LSD, and having some sort of bad trip. So all of this would contradict Melissa saying that taking Karlie to the hospital never even crossed her mind because it was just weed.
Being a mother, I wasn't going to take her to the hospital. She's high on marijuana. Why would I?
What? Okay, listen, I tried to be. That just rubbed me 50 shades of like the wrong way. What do you mean? Why are you so like confident that you made the right choice when it's clear by now at this point in the game you know that you didn't? That's a weird thing to be so like arrogant about. Like I would be it wouldn't even be a possibility. There's no way I would have no way. I would have already taken her to the emergency room way before. We would have never even went home. As soon as she got in the car, we would have been on our way to the nearest urgent care, whatever is open and closest to where we're at right now. That's how that would have went. I don't need no damn ambulance bill. Like I'm probably going to drive faster anyway. If she was acting that erratic and it was that out of character for her, no way. Like she's thinking the car's going to unalive her. Like that's not that. The only thing that could happen from that kind of behavior ignored would be she would hurt herself or hurt somebody else because she's so scared. That's just why not? Why set her up for failure to do that? Or why not help her? Just saying. Not even as a parent, I'm just talking about a human being, like, just saying. That just really rubbed me the wrong way. Sorry, you guys.
Crossed her mind because it was just weed.
Being a mother, I wasn't going to take her to the hospital. She's high on marijuana. Why would I? It didn't cross my mind. She was fine.
I mentioned earlier that during the initial search, the police questioned Donald and his friend James about if the marijuana was laced or if they had taken any other substances. Typically, when there is a child potentially in danger and the police know that there was possible underage drinking or substance abuse, in order to get the most accurate information and make the kids feel comfortable enough to be honest, they'll usually explain that they aren't looking to press any charges, that they aren't going to get in trouble. They just need as much information as possible for their investigation, especially when a child's life is at stake. We saw a similar situation when Kiely Rodni went missing from a party, coincidentally also in California. In order to get accurate information quickly, they assured all of the kids who attended the party that they wouldn't be pursuing any charges for drinking or drug use that may or may not have taken place.
When we spoke to a large group of the kids here at the community center, we made it clear we are not investigating their conduct that night. Okay, if you want to report anonymously, if you heard information from a friend and that friend doesn't want to come forward, please come forward.
It would have probably been closer to the time that she was with her friends, not hours later. He was arrested for providing
them go in and get the.
So we are.
She said that they threatened the kids at the party with charges if they didn't hand over the bong that was used, which caused James to give it to them and let them look around without a warrant.
They were threatening the kids at the party that if they didn't go in and get the bong, if something that Karlie had smoked was laced or anything like that, or if they found Karlie dead, that they would be held responsible for it. So rather than doing a proper agency search warrant, they threatened the kids and made them go in and get the bong that Karlie smoked out of and bring it out to them. Wow. So during that time, those kids could have done anything with it.
Right.
They weren't with them because they didn't have the proper warrant.
Now to Karlie.
So they're threatening him.
Plus, a year later, after James had turned 18, he was arrested for providing marijuana to a minor, but later pleaded guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor in relation to Karlie's disappearance. So far, that has been the only person publicly confirmed to have been arrested with anything in connection to Karlie. While it was Lindsay and many other people's opinion that Karlie overdosed on something, others pointed out that if she were to OD, it would have probably been closer to the time that she was with her friends, not hours later. As of 2023, it's also been confirmed that after testing items seized from that party house, there was no detection of any other substance other than marijuana. Over the last 5 years, since Karlie Guse went missing, there have been several tips of possible sightings. On TikTok and in some Facebook groups, a rumor started going around that perhaps the mysterious mukbang YouTuber Kate Yup was actually Karlie. There has been speculation and chatter for years disrupt the balance of neurotransmitters. It's been proven that heavy or prolonged marijuana use, especially in individuals under 25 years old whose brains are still developing, may increase the risk for psychosis and hallucinations. It's believed that THC can disrupt the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain, particularly dopamine, which helps in regulating mood and perception. When dopamine in the brain is unbalanced, it can put people, especially under age 25, at a greater risk of psychosis. Now, when this happens, the person loses touch with reality and experiences delusions and even hallucinations. Marijuana use during adolescence can also interfere with normal brain development, especially in regions that deal with emotional regulation and decision-making. Now, while this doesn't happen to everyone and is considered relatively rare, it can contribute to the development of psychiatric disorders, including psychosis. There's also research that suggests that people who start using marijuana at an early age and who use it frequently or have a family history of psychiatric disorders are at a higher risk. Even though Karlie supposedly hadn't smoked for a month prior to that night, it's been said that marijuana-induced psychosis can still occur even after someone quits. Some people have reported lingering symptoms, and others have even developed a long-lasting psychotic disorder. We know that Karlie's family has a family history of substance abuse and mental health issues, and the people closest to her have stated that when she started dating Donald, she was smoking much more frequently, even at school. So maybe if she went from smoking every day to quitting, then to smoking again at this party, it led to some sort of psychotic episode, which would have explained her confusion, her fear, her paranoia, delusions, and all of the irrational thinking. It would also explain why it didn't just wear off after a few hours of rest. She had already run away from Donald that night, who was someone that she usually felt safe with. So I do think that this is the most plausible explanation as to what could have happened, and why she ran away from her home where she was safe.
This game, you're not.
But I'm curious to know, what do you think? Even if we can get a general idea of what was going on and why in her mind it would have seemed logical to leave, that still doesn't tell us what happened after she walked out that door. There is still the possibility of Karlie wandering off into the desert and either succumbing to the elements or animals or getting picked up on the side of the road by someone with bad intentions. California consistently has the highest number of trafficking cases in the United States, with over 1,600 cases reported in 2018. So, could Karlie have been the 1,657th case? Even though that scenario would be absolutely horrible, it could at least mean that she is still alive and might be rescued someday.
Karlie, I love you so much with all of my heart. Please come home. Please come home to where you are not only loved by me and your family and friends, but by an entire community that wants to see you come home safely. Dear Lord, please bring Karlie home. To all of us. And if someone has you, get away. Be strong and get away.
What the Oh, okay. I guess I'll give it a pass. I could have thought about 10,000 other things that A for effort, I guess.
And I want to say to that person, let her go so she can come back home to where she's very much loved. Find it in your heart to let her go.
So even though that is definitely a possibility, the last thing I wanted to go over are two of the most current leads on this case, and either which could lead to the truth of what happened to Karlie Guse. A man named Paul Dostai is a retired Mammoth Lakes Police Department sergeant and detective. He believes that he knows exactly what happened to Karlie and can prove it utilizing coyote feces, excrement, or whatever else you want to call it. You know, the things that come out of a coyote. So after retirement, he focused on training human remain detection dogs capable of detecting decomposition, blood, and DNA at an extremely low and even microscopic level. For years, he and his specially trained dogs assisted in nonprofits that conducted searches and rescue missions for missing U.S. military personnel. Now, he and his dogs had such a high success rate that he was even called in to assist in high-profile unsolved missing persons cases. During these searches, he often teamed up with a friend named Arpad Vass, who is a biochemist and forensic anthropologist. Vass is the inventor of a device called the quantum oscillator, and according to Dostai and Voss, the device can isolate any object or material's natural vibrational frequency. This frequency is then directed out in a particular environment through an antenna, and it searches for objects in the area with the same frequency. When it encounters an object with the same frequency, that frequency is then emitted back to a receiving antenna. So for example, I know that's a lot of information, and it's like if you're not a science brain, it's hard to follow. It definitely was hard for me to follow at first. So for example, if I have the device isolate the frequency of a pen, I could then direct that frequency out into a field, and I would receive frequencies back if there were any other pens in the area. The data from the quantum oscillator can be processed and analyzed to generate a visual representation, like a heat map or a 3D model that shows the object's location. So according to Vass, since the device uses natural frequencies, it can be utilized to locate not just objects, but also missing people, both alive and dead. To accomplish this, he uses familial keratin DNA. Dostai and Vass work together by using this quantum oscillator to determine whether or not a person's frequency is in the area, and then Dostai's highly trained dogs sniff to locate that person, the decomposition, and even tiny amounts of their blood or DNA. So during the investigation of Karlie's disappearance, Vass and Dostai were given 3 of Karlie's baby teeth to put through the device. The data directed them from Karlie's street and past the neighbor's house of the first and second sighting. They were led across the highway through some bushes and located a trail of blood only a half a mile away from where Karlie was seen by the woodworker. The data showed areas as far as 3 miles away with the same frequency, and Dostai's dogs were consistently alerting for the presence of human remains or DNA. Using the data they received from the quantum oscillator, they continued searching for over a week. When 3 miles away from the initial blood trail, they made a pretty unexpected discovery. On a bush, Dostai found a pair of women's underwear with animal bites taken out of it. He brought his dogs over to the bush, and they got closer, and they started alerting like crazy, indicating a heavy presence of human decomposition. Dostai said that he then began looking for animal feces in the vicinity of the bush and ended up finding a few different piles of them. The dogs sniffed the first pile. They didn't make any alerts, but then they sniffed the second one, and they made alerts immediately. The feces had what appeared to be bone fragments, and at that point Dostai and Vass were confident that they knew exactly what happened to Karlie. They had used this method before to locate animal feces that ultimately had bone fragments of a missing person that they had been looking for. Their findings have even been used in court to prove that a person was no longer alive. I think that the dogs alone alerting to human decomposition around the bush where chewed underwear were located and bone fragments in what turned out to be coyote feces is pretty impressive, especially since this was found within 3 months of Karlie going missing. Dostai's dogs alerted to 40% of all of the animal feces within a 3-mile radius, indicating that one coyote or several other animals had ingested some sort of form of human remains. However, as promising as all of this sounded, the Mono County Sheriff's Office came and took some of the samples, and they announced that the evidence was not related to Karlie. Now, I'm not really sure how they were able to determine that so quickly because Dostai sent an anthropologist samples of the soil underneath where the underwear had been found, and not even she was able to extract any discernible DNA. There is also a forensics lab that is conducting research on DNA extraction from bones to identify potential murder victims, and if they are successful, Dostai plans to raise money to get the DNA extracted from the fragments in the coyote feces. So, since DNA extraction from bone is not exactly a readily available service unless you have a lot of money, and since no DNA was found in the soil alone, it doesn't really make sense for the police department to just completely disregard what Dostai and Vass found. Maybe they were able to get some definitive DNA off the underwear that were found, or maybe Melissa flat out said those weren't Karlie's underwear, but I think if that were the case, they would have just said that. They would have just told Dostai that information, and he wouldn't still be attempting to extract DNA from those bone fragments. Anyway, what do you think about this lead? I can kind of see a law enforcement agency not really understanding the whole concept of quantum oscillators because it is a little confusing and might seem to them like pseudoscience, but at the same time, the Mono Sheriff's Office has a tendency of brushing off leads, if you remember. Regardless if this evidence will be able to be connected to Karlie or not, I think that their whole process and the device could be beneficial for the future of search, rescue, and recovery missions, and hopefully can help bring closure to other families in the future. Now, many people think that this last tip that I'm going to talk about could actually be the big break in the case that law enforcement has been waiting for. This past August, People Magazine Investigates put out an episode about the Karlie Guse case, and at the end of the show, investigators released new information about a surprising tip that they had received in 2021. The caller was an ex-drug addict looking to make amends, which is typically a requirement, as many of us know, in the 12-step program. He said he had been living with guilt of knowing what happened to Karlie. Now, according to the tipster, he actually saw Karlie at a party in Tonopah, Arizona, which is 2 hours away from Chalfant and one of the first cities that you'll arrive at when driving on Highway 6. He said that at the party there was an incident involving Karlie, and he said that he felt bad about this incident and about knowing about it and wanted to get it off his chest. Even though it was never stated what the incident was, they did say that he provided the make, model, and location of the car that supposedly brought Karlie to that area. The car was seized and brought in as evidence for analysis, and several items were sent to the lab for DNA testing. As of late 2023, they are apparently still waiting on those results. Even though this was supposedly the first time any information about that tip has been publicly released, I actually do remember hearing Lindsay explain something similar in an interview that she gave about a year ago. I'm not 100% sure that the tip Lindsay is referring to is the same one that the investigators talked about on the show, but to me they sound very similar. So I'll let you be the judge. But if they are the same, then we might actually know what happened to Karlie.
We did have tips, possible tips, I should say, of somebody stating that Karlie got hit by a car and was thrown out of a car, or was thrown out of a car and struck by another vehicle. And they went to the state. They found the people they were looking for, the person of interest that they got the tip from, or about, I should say. and they began interrogating them and asking about this vehicle. They said they didn't have the vehicle. Well, they ended up finding a vehicle that matched the description with damage to the front end. So they thought they were onto something. Now, this is all news to you guys. This has not been publicized. And I haven't heard back from the sheriff in probably 7 or 8 months over this. And so they went and they issued a possible kidnapping and a possible homicide warrant for these individuals that may have hurt Karlie.
So that seems to be where we are at with this case, but I really want to know what you think. The wicked stepmother angle is literally a tale as old as time, and even though there are inconsistencies in the details that Melissa gave in the beginning, I think much of that can be explained by new information coming in quickly and her being incredibly stressed out. I can completely understand Lindsay's point of view as well, but I think that most likely Karlie was having a mental health crisis and then was either attacked by an animal in the desert or was maybe picked up by someone who wouldn't let her leave. Maybe the tip from that other city and that party is correct. Or maybe she's alive somewhere. Some people have even considered that the piece of paper she was carrying was a list of phone numbers or addresses so that she could leave her phone behind while willingly running away. But just based on what everyone has said about Karlie, I can't see her doing that. And her parents have said that she has thousands of dollars that have been untouched in her bank account. Which, surely if she ran away, she'd take at least a little money with her, right? I'm sure everyone can agree that Melissa and Zac should have taken Karlie to the hospital that night. And they've said that they wish that they did.
Okay, why would she have thousands of dollars laying around? Like, and I've also heard this rumor that she had a car, but I mean, did she get the car taken away? Did she not have her license? Like, if she had a car, why was she being driven around by stepmom? And where's the car? Like, is that something that was just added in, or like, is that it?
Regardless, I hope that Lindsay, Zac, Melissa, and the rest of their family and friends get some answers soon so that they aren't living just in this constant state of unknowing and unrest. As for Zac, he is reportedly 2 years sober after his arrest in 2021. And Karlie's brother Kane seems to be doing really well with his girlfriend too and with a baby on the way. For years, Donald made heart-wrenching Facebook posts, and it seemed like he was really struggling and maybe felt like, without knowing what had happened to Karlie, he could never move forward or love again. But as of 2023, it does seem like he's been able to find some happiness, even though it's obvious that he will always love Karlie as well. So please let me know what you think happened in this case, and if anyone does have any information on the whereabouts or what happened to Karlie Guse, please come forward. The more you share this video too, the more likely somebody is to see it and maybe spark a memory, a sighting, or something. Because if that new tip is true, other people would have had to have seen her. But if something else happened, there is someone somewhere who knows and could help. You can call the Mono County Sheriff's tip line at 760-932-5678 or email karliegusetips@monosheriff.org. You can also contact the Sacramento FBI office at 916-746-7000 or submit an anonymous tip on fbi.gov/tips.
If Karlie is watching this tonight, what do you want to say to her?
Baby girl, there's nothing that you can't say to me or call out to me. Just, please, Karlie, I missed you. I love you. And just keep praying, baby. You're gonna come home.
Karlie, I love you so much with all of my heart. Please come home. Please come home to where you are not only loved by me and your family and friends, but by an entire community that wants to see you come home safely. Dear Lord, please, please bring Karlie home. To all of us. And if someone has you, get away. Be strong and get away. And I want to say to that person, Let her go so she can come back home to where she's very much loved. Find it in your heart to let her go.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's case and hearing Karlie's story. If you enjoyed this coverage and you want to hear more true crime stories,
Okay. So we're talking like 30 minutes tops. There's no way it should have took her an hour and a half or even an hour. So this is allegedly where she was last seen. This intersection over here. But where she could have would have been down that way, but let's see. I just don't understand why. Hmm. Okay, let's just look for example. How many national parks are like right here? We got Death Valley National Park, Mojave National Preserve, Sierra National Forest, Yosemite, El Dorado, Tahoe. That's a lot. Grand Canyon. Anyways. No way. That would be weird. That's like, okay, anyways. That would have to mean that everybody was lying because now we're talking like 8-hour drive? No fucking, okay. Any hoosers. Hmm. I wonder what the damn different time zone, what that factors in. Anyways, that's going to be a whole nother rabbit hole. So, you guys,